Hey everyone, I'm Reshma, and from all of us here at Showbiz India, a very Merry Christmas to all of you. 2022 has been the year where things slowly began getting back to normal, including here at Showbiz India. We're finally back in the studios and so happy about that. So on today's show, we're going to take a look at our highlights of 2022. We began the year by speaking to two talented and accomplished women, Neetu Chandra and Kelly Madison, who spoke about their film Never Back Down and women taking on action films.
It was such a women empowering film and such great characters, including Neetu's.
Thank you. Yes, I'm very excited about it.
So tell me, how did you decide to cast our very own Neetu in that role of Jaya?
I gotta be honest, and Neetu can speak more to this. The role was designed for her.
That was November 2019, and I met David Dillon, who's the producer of the movie. We started chatting and talking, and then he said, "Oh, Indian actors, and they come and we have done a lot of work with you guys." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm looking at doing action movies." And he was like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I'm a black belt 4 Dan in Taekwondo. I've represented my country 3 times, and I fancy doing action movies, and it's really exciting for me." I cannot believe that he looked at me and he said, "I would like you to come and meet my writer." I met Audrey for lunch. By the end of the meeting, David said, "Audrey, write a character which has to be one of the main leads around Neetu and her skills."
What were you feeling when you knew you were going to direct this one?
I was just ready. I said, "Let's go. This is so me." The fighters that are involved in these movies, the talent that these people possess is so staggering, and I find it so fascinating. I find that fighters, especially even Neetu herself, they're so disciplined, these people, so they're humble. Every martial arts action film I've worked on so far, the actress's legs were covered in bruises from top to bottom. And I'm like, and she's like, "That's just the territory." I mean, so yes, I don't want to hurt anyone in a drastic way, but you're gonna get some scrapes and cuts and bruises.
Neetu, what was perhaps one of your favorite scenes of the film?
When you see the movie and something of your own and it touches you, and literally tears came out when I was watching Valentina and my fight. And now also when I talk about it, I just feel so strong. That whole scene, on the fight, it made me cry after watching the movie.
And from two strong women, we meet another woman entrepreneur. We spoke with the very accomplished Payal Kadakia, the founder of ClassPass, author of LifePass, and a talented dancer. And she talks about the passion behind her work.
You are the first, I don't want to call it brown girl, but in a cute way, the brown girl who had her company go unicorn. When you found that out, tell me, what was that feeling like?
I mean, it's a momentous moment, right, for any company, especially one that you started a decade ago to reach that point. But at the end of the day, look, as an entrepreneur, you don't work for a valuation, you work for the impact that you have on people's lives. And I think I'm always so grateful that ClassPass has been able to really serve people, help them get to class. We've booked over 100 million hours of people's lives. That being said, I think what was really important, and sort of what you were just talking about, is what that means for other people and other women and other little girls out there, especially South Asian women and girls out there, to be able to see somebody, to know that they can do it too. And I just want, anyone out there to know that they can do it themselves as well if they have the heart and the passion to do it.
I really imbibe, in my opinion, someone who's creative, obviously, and has imbibed into a robust business. So that's a unique combination. Not most people have that. I'd love to just pick your brain to see, how did you get this idea and how did you execute it?
I obviously have a moment where the idea came to me, but sometimes I really believe that I was destined to create this company since I was 3 years old and was put into my first dance class. Here I was in my 20s. I had been building my dance company, Sa, at the time, and I was working and I was looking for a ballet class to take, another one, since I was training at the time. And I couldn't find it online. And in that moment, I realized technology could solve this for so many people. And it wasn't just about dance. It was about helping people have that feeling of what dance meant to me in their own life.
And now you have this book called LifePass. So what was your motivation behind writing this book?
I think I just really lived life on my own terms. And no one really teaches us how to set expectations for ourselves, right? No one really teaches us how to live without letting things stand in our way. And I really did that. Of course, like I had limits and I faced them. And that's really what this book is about. It's really a book that helps you think about what your dreams are, but then all the things that could stand in the way. So I talk about mental constraints and I talk about real constraints in people's lives. And I realized in my life, I faced all of these and I found a way through. And I have a lot of tips for people to work through these different challenges in their own life so they don't have to say no. The end of the book is actually this beautiful goal setting methodology that I started about 7 years ago in my own life. And so I call it the Life Path Method. And the book has all the entire, methodology and steps to be able to set goals in your life and really go after them.
The Last Survivors is a horror sci-fi movie that eerily captures the aftermath of an apocalypse or even, dare I say, a pandemic. Producer Sunil Prakash and actor Akash Yadav talk about this film and working with Alicia Silverstone.
Your movie release, The Last Survivor, and both of you have produced it. You have quite a prolific resume, so to speak. What made you decide on a sci-fi film?
You know what? For me, it's always the thematics that start my interest in a piece of material. Like for me, this was a movie ultimately centered around somebody who decided that humanity had gone bad.
Akash, tell me what attracted you to this project.
Well, the sci-fi or thriller aspect, I think, is an additional layer. But at its core, like Sunil said, this is really about relationships, and it's about how people affect each other in isolation, and what people do when they're in love and desperation, and those fundamental issues we really experience all the way through. And the fact that Sunil and I are in different generations, but we both responded similarly to the script, I thought it meant there was something there that's universally translatable. I love every interaction between Drew Van Acker's character Jake and Alicia Silverstone's character Henrietta.
And speaking of Alicia's character, Sunil, I haven't seen her on screen in a long time. It was a refreshing change, and it was a very different character for her to play.
Absolutely. And in fact, in production, she told us that she studied Shakespeare. She was a trained actress when she was younger, but she got more into a comedy world and other things unlike this. And it was beautiful to watch her so effortlessly become Henrietta. I mean, she's really just so nuanced and real and present. I mean, all three of them are really strong, but it was really interesting to see how strong of a just dramatic, intense character actress Alicia is.
After a break of 2 years due to the pandemic, the Indian Film Festival of Los Angeles returned and celebrated 20 years with a full lineup of films and talented stars. Ritu Mahindru covered the star-studded events, and here's some highlights. Actor Vivek Oberoi stopped by San Diego to show his support for the Cry Gala. He talks about why the foundation is so important to him and how Cry played a part in his first earnings as an actor. It is indeed my pleasure to welcome Vivek Oberoi to California and to the Cry Gala, which has done exceedingly well and already surpassed what they were supposed to raise. Vivek, and a lot of credit goes to you. You're fantastic.
I think the credit goes to the people of San Diego. This has been an amazing journey. I remember when I was doing the virtual gala during the COVID window when we couldn't make it physically. I promised the Cry team that I would keep my word and fly down to America once things open up and help them raise funds for this incredible work that they're doing, this phenomenal, I call it the Cry Crusaders. I think they're doing such a great job. I've been hearing about Cry for a really long time because for me, charity is a very important part of my life. We have our own foundation. We do a lot of work and we support a lot of active foundations. So, when you're working on a grassroots level, you hear about good organizations that are actually creating impact, and Cry was one of them. And they reached out to me saying that, we'd like you to come and help us with this. And I first understood and assessed their program, what they're doing, and how much impact that it's creating on the ground. And I loved that.
A lot of people may or may not know, but Vivek is a philanthropist for the long, long time. And one of the beautiful stories you just shared today was so beautiful that your first salary, you actually helped a little girl who had a heart condition.
I don't take any credit for that. My mom inspired me to do that because I wanted to actually use my first salary to buy something fancy or nice for my mom. But she redirected my way of thinking, and that's what I say that, in my book, heroes don't wear capes, they wear saris.
Talented director Pan Nalin talks about his autobiographical film, The Last Film Show, and shared his view on the Will Smith and Chris Rock incident that rocked Hollywood. So I was fortunate enough to watch your movie last night. I make it a point not to read the synopsis because I want to see what the film is. And I started watching it and I was like, wait, this seems a little bit like an autobiography. And then I did read that it's kind of an autobiography, right?
True, yeah. Last Film Show, or the original title, Cello Show, it is totally based on my childhood, in Gujarat, in the Kathiawad or the Saurashtra region in Gujarat where I grew up.
What inspired you to finally do this film?
I basically believe I'm a storyteller and I just jumped one genre to another, from action to angry Indian goddesses, kind of some call it chick flicks. But this one, I thought I will never kind of wanted to visit my childhood in cinema. I never planned that. There was something nice about my childhood as I traveled more and started making co-production with Europe and Japan. And I realized that I somehow missed that innocence. Life was so simple.
I was looking at your Instagram and you made a very interesting and cute post about Will Smith and Chris Rock. And if I remember, it said Will lost his willpower and Chris rocked. I cracked up. That was so well said. So are you forthright and funny like this always?
Yeah, I like to find lightness in all the crises, I think to solve any big problem is to find humor in it,
And now over to actor R. Mahadevan, who attended the Cannes Film Festival with his film Rocketry. He tells us about the impact of the movie and how it has changed him forever. I had the pleasure of watching this brilliant film of yours, and what a film. We had told you even then. How does it feel? It's coming to fruition. It launched at Cannes.
It wasn't a selection at Cannes, although I would have liked it to be. It was invited to be shown as one of the films at the marketing front of it, but it was, of course, India's selection, and they decided the country decided to show Rocketry as the first film at the association between India and Cannes and France at the festival. So it felt very privileged, but I was very, very nervous before the screening. Dr. Nambi Narayan accompanied us, and then what do you know, the show started, and I suddenly realized this was the moment of truth, because now the baby is finally out, and the public are going to make a comment on it. And it was the most grueling 2.5 hours of my life. But thankfully, we got a great response. And I was happy to see Dr. Nambi Narayan smiling as we got a standing ovation. And it looked like all the efforts put in and holding on with the film for such a long time was all well worth it, just because of that one moment.
Do you feel like this film may have changed you forever?
Oh my God, it's amazing you should ask me that question, but I absolutely know that it's not just changed me, it's changed everybody that was involved with this film. Um, the outcome of the film is for anyone to guess, and I do hope that it does well and people like the film. But I do know that the attempt was to make everybody know or make everybody understand that another Nambi Narayan should not happen in any nation, not just in India, but in any nation. And that was the effort that the whole set of cast and crew were after, and that effort changed us. Changed us in the sense that our definition of what patriotism is was truly and well defined. We realized that people who are the true patriots are the ones who actually know that they might never be recognized, that they know that their contribution might never be acknowledged, and they yet go out and put their life on their line and do it day in and day out.
And the Marvel Universe got its first female Pakistani Muslim superhero in Miss Marvel. This Disney series featured a host of Desi stars and was a huge success. The stars and creators now speak to us about this groundbreaking character.
You are going to be the first female Pakistani Muslim superhero.
Yeah, it's very overwhelming. There's so much weight that comes with being the first of anything, but honestly the support from like my friends and family and then beyond that, just like people who are so excited for this character and comic book lovers who are excited for this character, it really means the world, and having them by my side is really giving me peace of mind going into all this.
Speaking of comic book lovers, were you a Marvel fan before this?
Yes. Yeah, I read it was mostly Invincible Iron Man that I would read because my comic book store was right across from my high school, and I would just like spend all my allowance on it. And I read an Ironheart comic with Riri Williams, and Kamala was on the cover of that one. And I was like, oh my God, who is this brown person? And this was when I was like 15, and I just absolutely fell in love with her. I read every single Miss Marvel comic I could get my hands on. I dressed up as her on Halloween, so she was very much an important character in my life.
I saw your YouTube video of when you were announced that you got the role, and of course you were ecstatic. Walk me through that moment.
It was the last day of high school. My friends didn't know I had auditioned, and we were going out to like celebrate ending high school, and I'm in the car and I get a text from Sarah Finn and Chris, our casting directors, and they're like, can you get on this call? And I was like, no. And they were like, well, we sent you the link, get on, like winky face. And I was like, okay. And I get out of my friend's car and I'm on her driveway, and I open the link, and lo and behold, it's Kevin Feige's face. And I was like freaking out, and I was like really trying not to have a reaction because my friends were watching me in utter confusion and I hadn't told them anything. So I really could not hold myself together, and I was freaking out over Kevin. And yeah, they told me I got the part, and I went back into the car, and my friends were like, so what happened? Did you like win the lottery or something? And I was like, basically, and told them everything, and then we got burritos. It was a good day.
You were behind creating Kamala's character way back in 2014. Now to see it come to fruition in a TV show, how does that feel?
I mean, it's bonkers. I can't explain it. I saw the billboard on Sunset Boulevard the other day, and I literally screamed. I was like, I can't. This isn't like normal for these guys, but I don't know. It's amazing. I feel very lucky and grateful, and I just hope people love her as much as we love her. It's amazing. It's just wild.
If you were to be given some kind of superpower, what would you have gotten, or would you want?
Ooh. I've thought about this for many years. Teleportation.
Oh, I got the same.
Yeah.
That's mine.
You can go anywhere.
Yeah, that's right. It's easy.
Or learning, like being able to be a very quick learner, right? So I can learn any language in the world and also communicate with the entire world. That'd actually be pretty cool. And I
Well,
can figure out what they're saying when they speak Dutch on set all the time.
Or Moroccan Derija, you know.
So annoying, but that's the one.
We only said good things.
Yeah. Laugh.
The last one is telepathy. Yeah, telepathy go in the mind.
No, I don't want that. You don't want it.
What was the most exciting part of the series for you so far?
Oh God, I don't know. I mean, there's so many things. I think every single time I would just go into work there and be on the stages in Atlanta, or there was times where there was a period of filming when we were in Thailand, and I think it was just crazy being able to walk into these stages and see these huge, like, amazing sets which have been built and designed by everybody there, and everybody was just working with a big smile on their face. And I'm such a Marvel fan, and seeing everything come to life and how things kind of happen around you was probably the most exciting part.
Happy holidays to all the viewers of Showbiz India.
And actress Frida Pinto's film in 2022 was the period romantic drama Mr. Malcolm's List. The cast and director talked to us about this film and its similarities to Bridgerton.
On this film, you are also a producer, so how different is that?
The producing work on this one was not a heavy lift, to be really honest. It was, I knew what I was lending my name to, and hoping that it would also drum up some interest around the financing. And then, of course, I had a couple of suggestions that were taken seriously by the producers, and I'm very happy because it turned out to be a very good suggestion. And so it kind of like just like dipped my toe into the producing world, I would say, with this one, but I'm really excited for the other stuff that I'm producing under my production company, Freebird Films.
And Shape, of course, it must have been delightful working with the gorgeous Frida Pinto. Now, asking you, have you ever experienced love at first sight?
Well, I did with Frida Pinto. When we worked together on the short, we didn't really get to spend much time with each other before we started shooting. And you can see me fall in love with her in that short film where I'm on my horse and I look over and I see her there. I just fall apart. I do every time I see her.
The movie has a lot of Bridgerton vibes, but I know you started this movie before that. How does that make you feel?
That makes me feel great that we've been working on it for such a long time, and then we stuck to a passion and a commitment and dedication to make this film, even though it took 4 years to get financing to go out there and shoot this film. And in the meantime, when Bridgerton came out, I think it only opened more doors for us, because it started, Shonda Rhimes is Shonda Rhimes. What she touches turns to gold, and it just makes the life of a lot of other artists easier, and they can then bring in their vision in and continue living the dream that they've wanted to see come to life. So in many ways, I just feel like we all end up helping each other, yes, we made the short film before them, then they made the 2 seasons, and here we are with our film now, and we're loving the reception it's getting.
And what would you say is most favorite part of this film for you?
Watching it back, it is the ballroom sequence. I think Amelia Warner's music as well just lifts everything that we were trying to achieve and stops us from trying and leads us to achieve it, It is one of the culminations of everything that's come before it and informs everything that comes afterwards as well. So I do think it is like one of the peaks of the film.
I read an article of yours where you compared love in the 1800s to love now with people swiping, but the emotional feeling is the same. Talk to me about that. That was so beautifully said.
Yeah, I've always felt the rules of society and the way we find our partners, find our relationships has obviously changed through time, but I actually feel our emotional understanding of what it is to fall in love and what it is to fall out of love, I think that's actually probably something I like to think has been pretty consistent through time. I don't think the emotional pain is any more or any less, or the emotional joy is any more or any less. So I think for me, that was sort of the underlying thinking for how to sort of tell this story emotionally, because I realized that if I could create scenarios for the actors where there was modern parallels, like modern understanding, ways to relate to the material and relate to the time period just by thinking about it in the modern equivalent, I realized that the emotional performance would still be the same.
And superstar Amir Khan talked to us all about his film Lal Singh Chadda. He talked about the original movie Forrest Gump and even gave us a little treat of him singing a song from the film.
Forrest Gump is one of my favorites, along with millions of people's favorites film. Now, did you ever, of course you watched it, I presume, but did you ever read that original book?
I did, but very long ago, very, very long ago. And it's so strange that a lot of people have asked me that when you were making the film, did you go back and read the book? Did you go back and watch the film? It's so strange that I didn't, because I should have, I guess. but when Atul narrated the Indian adaptation to me, I just fell in love with it, and that became the Bible for me. That became what I was following.
So it's truly your and his adaptation. It's a different adaptation, which is what books do, right? We all have our own reality. When we read a book.
I did speak to Mr. Winston Groom. I did, because when we were trying to get the rights, it took us about 8 years to finally get the rights. But in that process, I had reached out to Mr. Groom as well. So I had the opportunity of doing a video call with Mr. Groom, and I expressed to him what a big fan I am of his work.
And you have really explored the beauty of India, I believe, through this film. You have visited more than 100 cities and shot.
Well, there's a portion of the film when Lal runs across the country for 4 years, and this was an opportunity for us to kind of showcase the beauty of India and the different terrains and the different cultures that you come across. Yeah, so that's what we try to do in that run.
And you do leave Amir in so many of your characters. Are there any characters that actually have gone with you forever and stayed with you, of any characters you played?
Well, I have to say that I guess a little of each character does stay with me. A lot of me goes into each character, but at the end of it, a little bit of the character also stays with me.
What was the favorite part of the film, or a favorite song that you have?
Oh, well, this film has got some beautiful music, and I don't know which of the 5 songs I can pick. But what I also love is the background score. I think Tanuj has done a wonderful job of creating the background score. It's very difficult for me to pick one moment. But if I were to pick a song, I'd say the song which has not yet been released, actually. It's the 5th song of the film, and it's about to release in the next couple of days, the audio. It's called Na ho ke bhi qareeb tu hamesha paas tha ke 100 janam bhi dekhta main tera rasta. This is the song, and I'm not a very good singer, but when you hear it, I hope you like it.
And now from Hollywood and Bollywood, we go over to Broadway. The best-selling book, The Kite Runner, has been made into a play which had a great run on Broadway. And we spoke to the stars who spoke about the book and, of course, being on Broadway.
What would you say, as an actor, was the most challenging scene for you to perform on stage?
In my life, or in this play?
In this play, or in life too, if it's not this play.
There are a number. The one that comes to mind is there's a scene in Act 1 when they're kids, when Amir and Hassan are 12, and it's after, for those who know, after sort of the incident that happened. I don't want to call it the incident. There's no right word for it. I don't like to say the word. But after Hassan has been violence was perpetrated on him, my character didn't step up. And that guilt is overwhelming him so much that he can't face him. And when he does face him, it's technically a few months later, but it's only a few scenes later, Hassan just wants to know why they don't play anymore. And Amir can't face him. Until Hassan's like, well, why don't we play? And he keeps asking and he keeps asking. So Amir says, you want to play? What would you do if I hit you? I hate that scene so hard to do, but it feels theatrically satisfying because I know how important it is to the story. And in the book, he throws pomegranates at him. He throws pomegranates at him, and he wants Hassan to throw a pomegranate back because he's projecting all his cowardice and calling him a coward when it's really, we all, the sages say, when we project our hate, it's what we don't care about ourselves. And he's throwing pomegranates, but we can't throw pomegranates in the play for a number of reasons. And so that's why there's some changes. So he shoves him and he hits him. And then it gets a little more violent. That is so hard for me to do. It hurts so much, but that is the answer. That is the moment of the story where it is supposed to hurt so much. So you just have to. I was resistant a little bit to how much I do in terms of slaps and pushes, and then the director and fight director had to kind of coax me along. I was like, "This is enough. He's done enough." And so that was something that I was resistant, but I knew I had to get there, and they helped me get there, and I know they're right, and it is right to do that for the story.
I'm presuming this role must be extra special for you because you've kind of lived it.
That's a wonderful question, and thank you for that acknowledgement. This is so special. I read this book many, many years ago, and I can tell you those characters. My sister's name is Saraya. My baba is my baba. The working at a gas station, leaving everything behind, showing up with a suitcase and nothing else, having no paperwork and starting over again. There's just so many parallels in this story, as a person from Afghanistan that fled during that time. And I was a baby, so it's a little older than me, but being able to live this has just been so surreal. And to live it on stage, unbelievable.
And on a lighter note, how does it feel to be on Broadway?
Oh, wow. Namo Khuda, what can I say? As a girl from Afghanistan, you don't think, oh, I'm going to be on Broadway. I didn't even start seeing Broadway plays until my 20s. So to be given the opportunity, I just never thought in a million years they would want me. Here I am coming really mainly from a television background. And I just figured the agents asked if I wanted to read for it. I said, you know what, we should.
And of course, you've been wildly successful. You've done some very, very big name films. And now you're on Broadway. What's the transition like for you?
I've tried to keep a balance between my film work and my theater work. Because as an actor, I think it's important that you do both. They speak to you in different ways, and they make you grow in different ways. Theater is a very different form in itself. In a film or in a TV situation, you have more facilities to tell the story. On stage, it's a very different thing. That's why I think people call stage an actor's medium, because once the lights go on, come rain or shine, you have to go through and you have to get it done. So that is a beautiful challenge, and that ability to be able to connect with the audience every night is a beautiful thing. I think theater, what it does for you is that it's the most altruistic forms of art. You create a moment and then you let it go. There's no record of it. It's created for that audience, for that particular day, for that particular night, and then it's gone.
And reality show star Ruxana Carroll speaks with us about the show that put her on the map and her unique experience being a little person.
You were on Netflix season 3 for The Circle, and you were voted quite a few prizes. Tell me, how did that come about?
Always, my dream was always to be on TV. I just always felt like, especially being South Indian, especially being a little person, I still to the day, even though I'm a married woman, Shah Rukh Khan will always, if I get the call, there might have to be some changes, So it was it was always that kind of, I had that in me. Like I just have to, representation, and I just have to be there, and I just have to show people like, hey, I'm different, but I'm really not. So it actually started in 2012 when me and my husband, I married my best friend from high school, who happens to be African American. So we're like a Blendian family. It was actually like a week before our honeymoon, and the Newlywed Game on the Game Show Network was asking for couples who would want to be on the show. So I said, you know what? I'm going to just put me and my husband in there, because we've been best friends since I was 15 years old. We will be perfect for this show. I was going through the application and it was so long. And I'm like, oh, I don't have time. I'm about to go on my honeymoon. So I basically just sent them our pictures, like a whole bunch of our pictures. And I'm like, we're a unique couple. You just have to pick us. Long story short, we're on our honeymoon, and they literally called us and was like, you have to come down here to New York City. We want you to come down for this show. Once we won that and that experience, we're like, wow, game shows are fun. And then we ended up on Family Feud with my in-laws. The next thing you know, I get a message from a producer asking me if I would want to be on the show The Circle on Netflix. And I honestly thought it was a scam. And the producer said to me, research it, see if this is something you want to do. I think it would be perfect. And I did it. I jumped on the plane for the first time by myself. I went to the UK by myself. I had never traveled. I had never left the country by myself, never got on a plane by myself. Representation is key. And if I could just give a little bit of me where people could see, hey, she's little. Hey, she's South Indian. Hey, she's married to an African American. Hey, she's a mom, but she's just like us.
And now the name Seema Taparia has become a household name given the success of another Netflix show called Indian Matchmaking. And we spoke to this matchmaker herself and talked about what makes a good marriage. And when you first heard Smriti talk about this project, what was your first reaction?
When suitable girl got, so much renowned recognition, and it has won the award in Tribeca, then Smriti came with the project that we want to make this on this Netflix docu-series. I thought, frankly, every month 4 shows come in the Netflix and they go away. We don't even know their names and they go away. I said, Mera bhi aayega, mera bhi chala jayega. Okay, we will do it. But who knows ki God has other plans in mind. I never dreamt that the show will rock the world. On 16, the show released, and from 17, I was getting 1,000 phone calls every day, 1,000 phone calls. All for praises, for some setting their biodatas and all. But the show was one of its kind, and it was amazing. People loved the show. I got so many positive feedbacks from the show.
My favorite things about you is you teach people about the fact that, kisi ko mukammal jahan nahi milta. Not everyone can get 100%. But you've had some little people kind of fighting you on that. Please explain, what do you mean? You're not telling people to restrict themselves, but be realistic.
In matchmaking, that is arranged matchmaking, people come with their list, with their criteria. We want this. Lot of criterias. I tell them 100% you will not get. In your checklist, if 60-70% if you're getting it, education, looks, family, or anything, or compatibility, whatever is there, if 60-70% you get, you must proceed. This is not like ordering, like in a restaurant, ordering from a menu. You order it, but you will never get 100%. So always I tell my clients that you just be satisfied with 60-70%.
And you talk a lot about compromise, right? So what is your definition of compromise for you?
I'm going to change the word compromise to understanding. Because understanding is a good word. It's the same meaning. And if I tell compromise, every youngster says, why should we compromise? You have to compromise. You have to compromise in office, at your school, or at your house, or anywhere you have to compromise. But understanding, I'll use the word understanding.
Newlyweds and then expecting parents, Alia Bhatt and Ranbir Kapoor's first film together was the superhero action movie Brahmastra. And they talk about this movie, and Alia shares how she would define her husband as an actor. Alia, let me start with you. You've had some amazing releases this past year. I'm a big fan of your work, actually. And how excited are you? Because this is such an highly anticipated film of the year.
Well, very excited. Almost can't wait for it to be 9th of September already so that the audience can really see what we've been working on for all these years. Yeah, I think the experience for us has been one of a kind while making it, and I'm hoping and I'm kind of believing that the experience is going to be one of a kind even for the audience watching it.
And Alia, in such a young age, you've done quite a gamut of different kind of cinema. What particular part of this film did you find challenging?
I think the fact that we had to imagine all of it, actually happened to us in that moment. Like, the characters are put through very unique situations. A lot of those situations are, narrative-wise told by the help of visual effects and special effects and all of that. So for us as actors, we had to really believe each and everything that was happening to those characters, to kind of bring all of the other stuff in the periphery alive. I think that has been the most challenging part. but also the most exciting part is I got to learn so much, and there was like so much more of a submission as an actor that one got to experience.
And what about you, Ranbir? What was most challenging for you through this film?
I think similar to what Alia said, understanding, what the director was trying to say, because it's an original story. It's not based on a book. It's not adapted from anything, but it also takes inspiration from Indian mythology. The astras. So I think all of that. Yes, there was a lot of physical prep. There was a lot of other things that went into making this film. But I think on the soul of the film is really to understand these characters, what these characters are going through, and the heart of this film is also the love story. So that was something that we were very excited to be a part of.
Speaking of the love story, what favorite part of the love story in the film for you, Ranbir?
I think the lot of things that I haven't released yet, but I think we can talk about Kesaria.
Kesaria,
I think Kesaria was a song that I think we are blessed with, by Preetham, Amitabh Bhattacharya, Arijit, and just to have a song like that in our filmography, I think we're very excited about that.
And Alia, of course, you're working with your spouse in this film. As an actor, how do you define him?
Unpredictable. Yeah, I think he's you don't really know what Ranbir is going to do in a shot. He'll follow direction, but you can't really see his prep or anything. So as an actor, he's unpredictable.
Actor and comedian Venk Patula joins us to talk about his comedy, Four Samosas, and his connection with Nick Cannon. I want to get to know you a little bit better. You went to UCLA, not very far from
Not very
here.
far from here at all.
And I hear you were discovered by Nick Cannon.
Yes, I was discovered by Nick Cannon. Funny story. So, like you said, I was a student at UCLA, and I had gotten a call from the film program, and they were casting a movie, and they needed they were looking for a brown actor for this role. So they were calling universities to try and find someone. And they called UCLA and they were like, do you have any South Asian actors? And they're like, yeah, we have one. And it was me. And it was my first audition ever in LA. I was really nervous. It was for this movie called The Internship with Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn. And so it was a comedy and I was really nervous there. So I just went out on the street, started running up and down, dancing, just to get the nerves out of my system. And this car pulls up on the road, the window rolls down, and this guy's like, dude, you're hilarious. I want to put you in my movie.
So you got another break from being on another audition.
Basically. And so I had these business cards. And so I gave this person in this car a business card. And I got an email later saying, yo, it's Nick Cannon. I got a movie starting in June 4th. I might have a small part for you in it. Yeah, and that's how I first met Nick and started kind of getting into the comedy world and kind of training under those guys and learning the ropes from them.
Let's go back to Four Samosas.
Yeah.
I just watched it. It's hilarious. Very sweet film, a must watch. You co-produced it along with Ravi.
Correct.
So tell me, how did that come about?
Yeah, so Ravi, someone that I've always looked up to. He's an actor, he's a writer, he's a director. I just kind of had a sort of mentorship kind of relationship with him. I would make short films that was writing and directing, producing, and I would send them to Ravi so that he could give me feedback on them and I could grow. Well, he first asked me for my feedback on the thing, and I read it and I saw this character was written named Venk in the script, and I thought, wow, an interesting name for a character. I don't often read a script that has Venk in there, but I really resonated with the role, and then he asked me to act in it a few days later, and then asked me to produce it with him, and that's how it started.